Cancer, in the future, when you think back to 2025, you're going to think, wow, 2025, that was the year that my entire world opened up. Hi all, my name's Haley Comet and welcome to my Cosmic Corner of the Internet, where we discuss all things astrology, and today all things 12 Days of Cosmos Cancer 2025 edition. What the year ahead has in store for the Cancers and how it is that you can co-create with the cosmos, how it is that you can align yourself to your highest available timeline this year, how it is that you can mitigate any challenges ahead within these cosmic alignments, and how it is that you can make the most use of the opportunities coming your way this year. And opportunities, Cancer, are coming in abundance. I mean that literally, because we've got the planet of abundance itself, Jupiter, entering your sign this year, which Jupiter being in your sign is lucky across the board, but Jupiter's blessings are particularly potent, particularly accentuated when you are a Cancer. That's because Jupiter exalts in your sign. So there is this overflow of generosity, of good fortune, of growth that is coming your way this year, Cancer, and we'll detail everything you need to know about this transit and every other transit that is ahead for you. I want to just let you know that this video will be the most relevant and the most applicable if you are a Cancer ascendant. I also recommend listening to your sun sign forecast as well. The reason for this is that I use solar houses. Your actual houses based on your ascendant will always be the most accurate, but solar houses listening to your sun sign can also bring an additional layer of significance of what 2025 will have in store. And if you're looking at the 12 Days of Cosmos playlist and you're like, Haley Comet, one of my signs is not available, just know that throughout the month of December, every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I will be uploading 12 Days of Cosmos forecasts in zodiacal order this year. So make sure to subscribe so that you do not miss it. And if you resonate with my style, if you enjoy being in my Cosmic Corner of the Internet, we would love to have you come around more often. I do all signs forecasts for major transits. We have a lot of the planets entering new territory this year, so you can look out for all signs forecasts to get even more detailed information on those transits as they come out that you can look out for. And I also do a weekly horoscope series called Magic Monday, where I take you through every single week of astrology and how it is that you can navigate it in order to live your most aligned, most magical life. So deeply encourage you to check that out if my style of co-creative astrology resonates with you. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take it into your Cancer 2025 forecast, Sweet Victory. So Cancer, as I highlighted, the outer planets are shifting, changing, and rearranging in the year to come. And while there's many transits for us to discuss and that we will discuss throughout the course of this video, I like to firstly pull out the transit that feels that it'll be the most influential and impactful for your journey. Likely, this will be what, when you think of 2025, you think, oh, 2025, that was the year that Jupiter entered my sign. Because this does indicate a new chapter that is opening up, one of generosity, one of good fortune, one of growth. This is the largest planet of the solar system entering your sign this year, Cancer. It's bringing you expansion. Now, of course, with every new chapter of expansion does bring eventual growing pains, and there is a story of that within the cosmos itself. But let's firstly call out the blessings that you can expect during this transit, because you can expect them by the boatload. Truly, Jupiter is not the planet of excess for nothing. And with Jupiter transiting the sign of exaltation, oh baby. Now it's important to highlight that Jupiter does not spend the entirety of the year in your sign. In the first portion of the year, from January 1st to June 9th, 2025, Jupiter will be in Gemini. Jupiter, from a house perspective, was transiting your 12th house, which is your hidden house. So you could have felt like your luck, your blessings were shrouded in darkness. Either literally being like, hello, things are not showing up physically within my outer world, or feeling like you could not talk about them, you could not share about them. Now, some of you could have been working very hard on something within the background. You know, some of you could have been writing a book, you could have been researching something new, you could have been doing a lot of spiritual work on yourself. Some of you could have devoted a lot of your time to studying a spiritual topic, but there was a nudge and a call to keep a lot of that sacred, keep a lot of it from within. Some of you could have been really concerned around hidden enemies or not wanting people's, evil eye on projects. So keeping a lot of it hidden. A lot of you could have had within 2024, and that will continue within the earlier part of 2025, a period of craving a little bit more solitude, of being a little bit more in your hermit era. And again, even if you weren't worried about haters and evil eye or things of that nature, it just tends to be a time that a lot of our growth is happening in ways that people cannot necessarily see. And it's not to say that what people can't see does not exist, because the story that I see playing out for many of you this year, Cancer, is that something that you've been working on in secret, you've been researching something, you've been studying a topic, you've been working on your own healing, all of the work of that is going to show up in 2025. Like the fruits of that hidden labor are going to become visible within midway 2025 throughout the rest of the year. So some of you could be debuting a project that you've been working on in the background, behind the scenes. You could be making that visible. Some of you could have been really healing. Jupiter transit in the 12th house can be sometimes a time that we're closing out chapters, we are letting go, we are releasing things, we are shedding the last season of our life. And with Jupiter entering the first house, you are interacting with the world in a more visible, more public way, and you have space. If you did not do this in 2024, I would encourage you to grab the first part of 2025 and ask yourself, if this new chapter is opening up for me, with Jupiter entering my sign, what is it that I don't want to take with me in this next chapter that's opening up? What belongings no longer resonate with the next season of my life? What stories and cycles, what baggage am I holding on to that I don't want to take with me into the next stage of my life? And Cancer, you all know that I love you so much, okay? I say this with love in my heart. But when it comes to being a Cancer, there can be a tendency to hold on to things that do not serve you, to cling to people, places, or things, even when they have shown you that they cannot be what it is that you need them to be. And I highlight this because for you to maximize these Jupiterian blessings, it's important for you to find the good in goodbye, okay? Because with Jupiter transiting your 12th house, it's a time to part with things, with stories, with people who you do not want to take with you within this next chapter of your life that is opening up. But because Cancer is the sign of the past, there can be this tendency to hold on. Of course, living in the past to a certain degree does keep us safe because we don't know what our future has in store. So it's easier to cling to things, even if they're not necessarily what it is that we want, because we know what to expect there. And sometimes when we don't want to make peace that something in our life is no longer there, we hold on to it by ruminating on the same familiar story over and over and over again, because then at least we feel that there is some version of that person, place, or thing still within our reality. And for those of you who may be dealing with grief or loss, my heart is with you. And with Jupiter transiting your 12th house in the first portion of the year, sometimes this can be a time around being able to connect with our loved ones on the other side, our ancestors. It could also be a time that you are leaning more so on angelic support or spiritual support, these hidden sources that we can connect and feel inspired and feel rejuvenated and make peace with the fact that things end. It's inevitable. And for you to really maximize all of what's opening up for you, it's important to really gain clarity around what you are not taking with you into this next chapter. Of course, memories have shaped us, they've molded us, they've made us the people that we are. It's not saying you need to completely eternal sunshine and the spotless mind yourself and forget everything, but there's just a need to get clear around where you are holding yourself back from growth and new opportunities and stepping into your future because you are living in the past. And so the first portion of this year is really around clearing space. Some of you could be leaning into that secrecy energy, like I said. You could be working on a project in secret. You could be researching something in secret. You could be doing a lot of healing work in secret. But with Jupiter entering Cancer and from a house perspective entering your first house, which is around visibility, self, identity, appearance, a lot of the rewards of what you've done in secret or done spiritually is beginning to catch up in a very noticeable way. Like some people could be asking you midway through the year, through the end, like, wow, did you get something done? Like your energy could just be different. You could be glowing differently, moving differently because you have made peace with the past. You have shed what did not serve. Some of you could have really healed or tapped into spiritual tools in order to better your physicality or your appearance. I'm telling you, I know that sounds kind of out there. Like a lot of you are glowing differently in the latter part of 2025. You're moving differently. People are going to ask you, is it plastic surgery? Did you get your hair done? Are you doing your makeup different? Is your style different? And certainly there could be a desire to want to experiment with those arenas of your life, but it's beyond that. It's like your soul's beauty is shining through. And it's shining through strong because you have made peace with your past. You have confronted and befriended your skeletons in your closet, your demons in the back of your head. That's all 12th house energy. And a lot of that work that you've done that people didn't know about, you know, you're fighting demons that people had no idea about. You're fighting spiritual challenges or challenges as it relates to grief and letting go, things of that nature that no one knew about. And when Jupiter entering the first house, people are going to ask you what you did, but it's really what you went through and what you found within you that's now being able to shine through you. You just glow different when you've done the inner work. And for a lot of you, you've really been doing the inner work. And you can find that the latter portion of 2025 and beyond, you are more magnetic because of it. And for a lot of you, you're really challenging yourself to be open to new opportunities, to be open to the future, and to be open to new sides of yourself. And Cancer, you very well may surprise yourself this year. As the crustacean of the zodiac, typically you are a little bit more shy. You are a little bit more private. You are a little bit more reserved. You know, crabs have their exoskeleton. Like there's parts of you that may want to defend or protect yourself and not always wanting to be seen. And of course, nurture and nourish what is sacred and what's private to you. But where you may surprise yourself in 2025 is putting yourself out there, allowing yourself to be seen and feeling more confident to put yourself out there. The way that the cosmos are lining up for you in 2025, a lot of you are being launched into the limelight, into a degree of visibility, of all eyes on me, which may make you feel tempted to want to retreat back into your little shell. But I'm telling you, you've got this, Cancer, and that's where your growth awaits you, is being able to be visible or allow your projects to be visible. Let's say if there's something you've been working on in private, allowing yourself to put it out there. Again, there's a degree of vulnerability when we put something out there that's been private out into the world because it makes it more subject to scrutiny and to criticism. But we cannot really tap into the blessings and abundance of Jupiter if we don't allow ourselves to be perceived. It's the biggest thing. And with Jupiter here, you can find that you feel more confident. You're looking out at the world through the lens around what could happen rather than the lens of what did happen. There is an overall story within 2025's astrology around really embodying our own inner warrior and really releasing any sort of victim mindset that could have held us back, kept us stuck. And that's particularly potent within your chart, Cancer, because I just see with Jupiter in the 12th house, you're getting clear on these underlying stories, on what has transpired. And with Jupiter in the first house, you're opening yourself up around anything could happen. And if you're someone who tends to live in the past or live in the framework around what has already transpired, there's an energy where you're being called upon this year to look through the windshield. Look where you're driving, look where you're going. There's a reason why the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. There's a reason why. And Cancer, it feels like you're freeing yourself from holding yourself back. Again, the ego likes to keep ourselves safe. So it'll have us living in the past and rejecting ourselves before other people even have the opportunity to reject us. I've heard this line before around, don't be the first person to tell yourself no. If you've been holding yourself back from new opportunities to advance within your career with all of this 10th house energy this year, to put yourself out there on social media, to write the book with the North Node largely transiting your 9th house this year. Do not be the first person to tell yourself no. because you're scared of rejection, you're scared of what people will say, or you're scared that you don't have what it is that it takes. You will never know until you try, until you dig deep into that reservoir of talent and gifts that you have within and allow yourself to see what you're made of. A lot of people will say that Jupiter is an overhyped and overrated planet in transit. But I am of the belief that Jupiter can be an incredibly lucky, opportune time so long as you take advantage of it. So long as you've cleared the space for it, you have room to welcome in new projects, new people, new blessings, new home, whatever it is that you want to call in. Jupiter energy really highlights our ability to manifest. So whatever it is that you're calling in, just know that you can synchronize with those things that you desire with more ease with Jupiter in your sign, but you will be the one who has to put yourself out there, who has to do the work, right? With Saturn entering fellow cardinal sign Aries this year, you will be the one who has to be open to these new blessings, as well as put yourself in the space for these things to become a reality, to come into fruition. You can't just hide within the latter portion of 2025 and expect all of these blessings to knock on your door and find you. They can find you with a lot more ease, but you will have to meet the cosmos halfway in order to truly maximize the magic that this transit can bring. Because as I highlighted earlier, Jupiter prefers being in Cancer more than any other sign. That's because the energies are very much in sync. Jupiter is the planet of generosity, and Cancer is an incredibly generous sign. So you could find that you are looking out at the world, really wanting to pour into and nourish what is sacred to you. You're wanting to pour into what it is that you care about. Jupiter is also the planet of meaning, and when it comes to being a Cancer, you feel things deeply, you find meaning in a lot of what it is that you do, and with the energy of Jupiter in your first house, you could be looking out at the world through this lens of meaning and truly wanting to deepen your relationship to this reality. Again, you can live your life one of two ways. You can either live it as though it's meaningless and nothing is magical, or that it's meaningful and everything is magic. You get to choose. And I would deeply encourage you, particularly in the latter portion of this year, challenge yourself to view everything as though it's magical and though it has meaning, or at least as though it has something to teach you. That's another core theme of Jupiter, is that Jupiter is around academia. Jupiter is around travel. Jupiter is around religion and faith. So a lot of you could be really open to new experiences, whether that's retreats, whether that's certifications, whether that's degrees, whether that's traveling experiences on your own. A lot of you are looking out at the world, wanting to deepen your education, or are really wanting to deepen your wisdom within this experience. And as a Cancer yourself, you understand that so much of this reality is in the energetic and emotional undercurrents of life. And Jupiter transiting your sign should expand your thirst for knowledge in these arenas. And first house has to deal with our physicality. And again, you guys are going to be glowing this year, and a lot of it is going to be because of the work that you've been doing on yourself. A lot of you are really learning to love yourself this year. Pour in and nourish yourself to the deepest soul level. And that makes you so beautiful. That makes you so magnetic. And if that has not been something that's been part of your reality, affirm that and declare that you will learn to genuinely nourish and love yourself within the latter portion of this year. To pour into yourself. You know, Cancer is the archetypal mother within astrology. And regardless of whatever it is that you identify as, regardless if you are a parent or not, it really just speaks to this sign's ability to pour into, to caretake, which is why you can find that Cancers are very gifted healers. They could be very gifted with plants, with pets, with children. There is this desire to put their nurturing, their emotional caretaking and compassion into something else. To be this vessel of compassion for other sentient beings on this planet, which is such a beautiful facet of your character. But what I would challenge you to do this year, Cancer, is see where it is that you can also pour that into yourself. You deserve your nurturing just as much as the people around you, just as much as your plants, as your pets. And in fact, it makes you even more capable as a caretaker when you do pour into yourself. And I know that's easier said than done, the way that our schedules are set up a lot of times. I mean, you've got Saturn transiting the 10th house temporarily this year, so a lot of you are going to be quite busy, right? Maybe you don't have all of the time necessarily to do the mirror work and to do the bubble baths and things of that nature, but I would challenge you to at least try and to start from the vantage point that you are worthy of that, and to really make self-love a practice. Maybe that looks different depending on how busy your day is. Maybe that's just deciding, I love myself so much that I'm going to go for a walk after work, or I love myself so much that I'm not going to get involved with this person's drama. I love myself so much that I'm going to do my skincare before going to sleep tonight. I want you to make decisions centered from that vantage point around, I love myself, so I'm choosing myself, and I'm choosing to nurture myself actively. That may look different day to day, but your relationship with yourself remains the same. Around, I'm someone who's worthy of pouring into myself. And that feels even more important this year, Cancer, because I do want to highlight that last year, 2024, you wrapped up a major cycle where Pluto was in your opposite sign, Capricorn. That was a transit that began in 2008 and completely wrapped up in 2024. You, during your time here on planet Earth, will never have a repeat of this transit. That door is closed, and it is closed for good. And when it comes to that door being closed, that is something to celebrate, Cancer. Even beyond the blessings of Jupiter in Cancer, the fact that 2025 will be the first year since 2008 that you have not had, at least in some dimension, Pluto transiting your 7th house, that in and of itself is something to celebrate, certainly. And I highlight this because with Pluto in your opposite sign, so from a house perspective, your 7th house of one-to-one relationships, partnerships, marriage, open enemies, things of that nature, Pluto could have really ripped you into the shadow side of people, truly. Some of you could have had some very painful, transformative relationships throughout this time. Some of you have had to awaken to the shadow side of what human beings are capable of. Some of you could have had to encounter some individuals who have very Machiavellian tendencies, or who were very manipulative, who took advantage of you, who harvested your energy, who siphoned your emotions. Some of you had to deal with people like that. And when it comes to that chapter being closed, it does feel like either if you walked away or those people were ripped out of your life by force, regardless, there does feel to be a closing of that cycle, a closing of that chapter. And a lot of times, even if the person themselves is removed from our life, the damage does not revert immediately. We don't go back to who it is that we were before. In fact, Pluto energy, the old us, is gone. Like, it is a grieving of who it is that we used to be before we encountered someone like this or got exposed to the darker underbelly of this human reality by having to connect with someone like this. The version of you of who it was that you were before you knew that this is what people were capable of, or what your marriage was capable of, or whatever the story is, that version of you does not exist. And this doesn't have to be so sinister. Like, some of you could have just had this transformative experience with a partner, with a spouse of some sort. And now that this Pluto transit is completely behind you, you are a different version of you. And while there is a grieving process to that around missing who it is that we used to be, missing how naive we used to be, how innocent we used to be, how trusting we used to be, with the energy of Pluto, it's really embracing the new sides of yourself that you've uncovered. You might not have known how resilient you were, how strong you were, how powerful you were. And with the energy of Jupiter transiting the 1st house, I would just really encourage you to fall in love with yourself. Fall in love with yourself, because one of the most beneficial tools in discernment around steering clear of individuals like this is pouring into yourself. When you are full, when you are taking care of yourself, you are a lot more discerning around whom you allow into the sanctuary of your own peace, of your own love and valuing of yourself. You will love, value, and prioritize yourself, so much so that when you feel off, when you get a weird gut feeling, when someone is not treating you as you deserve, you really trust that. You really trust that. And you know you're worthy enough to walk away or to not have to engage with that particular person or what have you. Again, I'm not putting the onus on you. I'm just saying, with Jupiter in the 1st house, it's such a beneficial time to fall in love with yourself, especially if you do resonate where that Pluto transit was quite challenging, particularly by way of relationships. Jupiter is transiting the 1st house. This is the house of self. It's a time to prioritize yourself Nurture yourself. Pour into yourself. Know that you are worthy of these blessings, of this abundance, of the opportunities that Jupiter in Cancer is bringing your way. Now, first house outside of self, it also has to deal with our identity, with our appearance. Some of you, not all, but some of you could absolutely conceive this year. Jupiter governs expansiveness. First house is our body, so sometimes we are literally expanding with a baby. That idea of conception could also be applied to giving birth to some sort of passion project or things of that nature. And with Jupiter expanding the house of body, some of you could gain weight this year, and that typically is a reflection of just this Jupiterian mind state of optimism, of saying yes, of the shadow side of Jupiter, which is excess, that can be alive here. But for some of you, you're learning to really nourish and nurture your body. So some of you could be getting more into taking care of yourself. You could get more into your upkeep, the rituals that allow you to feel like the best version of yourself, skincare, makeup, procedures, what have you. A lot of you could be really pouring in energy there. Some of you could be really pouring into your physique. Some of you could be really pouring into your physique in some regard. Some of you could be wanting to explore new sides of your aesthetic, try different fashion and makeup and hair, and again, connect to new sides of yourself. When Jupiter transits the first house, it starts a new cycle of growth, and you are the protagonist on your hero's journey. And so if you've been wanting a new look, if you've been wanting to switch it up, try new things, this is a time to be open to that and particularly hone in on what makes you feel like you, what makes you feel like your outer vessel is a reflection of what's within. That's true soul beauty. When we wear and we dress and we upkeep ourselves in the ways that make us feel like ourselves. And that's also going to aid and improve your confidence. Now, I do want to share with you, Cancer, that this Jupiter transit is not without its hurdles and its challenges. And that is because right when Jupiter enters your sign in June, it makes two squares to Saturn and Neptune, who are both in your 10th house of career, public persona, and reputation. We will dive more into the nuances of Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house, but I want to just say here that there could be a little bit of a clash around you growing and expanding around ways that feel good to you and dealing with certain scrutiny and critique from other people around, no, we love you, but not like that. And again, with Jupiter in first house, you're challenging yourself to pour so much love into yourself that your validation of yourself means the most, means more so than needing validation from bosses or needing validation by way of your reputation. It's going to be important, especially with Jupiter square Saturn, that you say no to the wrong things so that you could say yes to the right things. That's going to be incredibly important. And to have discernment around what's the right thing, what's the wrong thing. And like I said, with the Pluto example, when we are pouring into ourselves, when we are making ourselves a priority, when we are loving on ourselves, when we are truly in love with ourselves, you have a lot easier of a time saying no to anything that is not in alignment with you. When you are not loving yourself, you're in scarcity mode. So you're going to let people in, even if they are nefarious. You're going to say yes to every project that comes your way, even if they're not in alignment, because there's this energy around not believing in the abundance of life. This is the year to start believing the abundance of life. We've got Jupiter exalted in your sign. Start to believe that you are worthy of good things coming your way. And know that you can only be an energetic match for those good things to come your way if you feel that you are worthy of them and you also have space for them. You don't need to be saying yes to every single project. You don't need to contort yourself to accommodate your boss's every whim or fancy. And so there could be an energy of June around craving expansion, tapping into new sides of yourself, craving certain elements of freedom, but feeling very suffocated or restricted by your career. So some of you could be wanting to travel, you could be wanting to learn something new, wanting to get a certification of some sort, but like your work responsibilities are so pressurizing that you're not able to. Or you could find that your morals, that's also Jupiter, feels misaligned with who it is that you're working for or with your overall reputation within your business or something of that nature. And again, this is incredibly potent when Jupiter's in your sign. To grow means to outgrow. And to grow means you need to get comfortable telling the wrong opportunities no. And with Jupiter squaring Neptune, there could be this energy around not having proper boundaries at work that is diminishing your ability to grow in the ways that you're really wanting to grow. You could be taking on people's scrutiny and criticism of you on a public level very personally. Tough skin is important this year, Cancer. Like I said, don't be the first person to tell yourself no. Don't be so afraid of rejection that you reject yourself before anyone else has the opportunity to reject you. Will there be challenges and hurdles this year? Yeah. May you be told no a time or two this year? Yeah. But is your greatest growth and greatest fulfillment on its way to you? Should you put yourself out there regardless? Yeah. So Cancer, you are the lovely lunars of the zodiac. And by that I mean you are ruled by the moon. And to get a better sense of what you will be up to within the year 2025, we want to figure out what the moon is up to within the year 2025. Now, as you may know, if you follow astrology, your ruler gets up to quite a bit. It completes an entire cycle within 28 days. We have a new moon and full moon every single month, so it would not be a wise usage of either of our time if we walked through every single moon transit in the year 2025. But what we will do during our time together that will be a wise usage to plug into the biggest story of the moon this year is tapping into the story of the north and south nodes and thus the eclipses. You as a Cancer are always influenced by the moon, and eclipses are that even more accentuated, even more highlighted. So let's go on a journey around what the nodes of the moon are up to this year and what the eclipses are all about. So at the very beginning of the year, the North Node is in Aries. This is the journey that we are wrapping up. This is where we've been the last year and a half. In January, the North Node moves into Pisces. The nodes move as a pair. So when North Node enters Pisces, South Node enters Virgo, Pisces opposite sign. They move in tandem. This is a passage of the torch, so to speak, around taking the wisdom around what it is that we've learned from the Aries portion of the journey and taking it with us into the Pisces portion of the journey. And this is represented very literally by the eclipses in March, because that's when the nodal activity is the most highlighted and accentuated, is when it comes to the eclipses. Because it's important to keep in mind that the nodes are not an actual celestial body, it is a calculation. So the nodes are the most relevant when it comes to eclipses. So let's go on a journey of eclipses, shall we? So the first eclipse of the year is on March 13th. This is a Virgo lunar eclipse on the South Node. And the difference between these nodes is this. North Node signals a point of gain, growth, expansion, sometimes uncomfortable. What it is that we're being nudged towards. South Node signifies an arena of decrease, of letting go. And overall, with all of the eclipses in Pisces and Virgo, there is a diving in to the spiritual, to the ethereal, to the mystical of Pisces, and a letting go of the analytical, of the precise, of the exact of Virgo. That is the overall story that's playing out within the collective. Of course, this brings up particular life arenas for you. But there is a need this year to surrender attachment to the plan around how we thought that things were going to go and allow ourselves to surrender into what will be. Because I'm sure you've experienced within your life that sometimes things happen that are so synchronistic, that are so beautiful, that you have that moment around, wow, I couldn't have planned this even if I tried. And maybe sometimes we experience certain heartaches around something that we really wanted, really desired, did not come to fruition for us. But sometimes with time we see, oh, I see why though. Like that was not in my highest and best good. Like sometimes we can be banging on a door wanting something so bad, but we don't really understand what's behind that door. And the divine is blocking us from it for a reason. And it's actually our greatest blessing, is that rejection. Again, the universe, the divine sees all and knows all. Knows your heart, knows your desires, knows your wants, knows your preferences, knows your path. And there's a need within the upcoming year to really trust in that and surrender needing things to unfold how we plan them to with the energy of South Node Virgo. And that is what will be accentuated with this first lunar eclipse of the year. So a lunar eclipse is an eclipse on the full moon. This is a time of revelation, of illumination. And this eclipse will land in your third house, the house of the mind. the house of logic, the house of practical skills, of neighborhood, of siblings. Third house also has to deal with communication, the collective consciousness, things such as social media. And so this first eclipse in March could bring to the surface in a very palpable, visible way, the way that other people's opinions and even criticism with the energy of Virgo could be holding you back. There could be certain things that your soul is feeling called towards that you are longing to discover, with North Node being in your 9th house literally during this time. But other people don't understand it. Like your sibling could be like, why do you need to go on that retreat in that foreign land? Or you post something and you get some critique from your social media followers around, you should do it like this, or you could be doing this better. There could be a lot of chatter around this particular lunar eclipse. And in those moments of chatter, that's where it's incredibly important to get still, to let your soul speak. That's going to be the nudge throughout the entire astrology that you're stepping into, is really allowing yourself to be led by the divine, but also led by your own intuition. And I feel that you are uniquely equipped to handle this North Node journey. Not everybody is as adept as you are around following the nudges of our soul. So you may be feeling called to guide other people within that journey. But in March, you might feel like you're getting a lot of critique. People don't understand you. They're like, why are you living your life in the way that you are? Some of you are recognizing that your inner world, you are your own harshest bully. And that could be something that you are letting go of. So maybe you're letting go of other people's nitpicky commentary of you, but maybe you're letting go of your own nitpicky commentary of yourself. Like we talked about within the first section, the defining transit section, you are stepping into a time of confidence, of visibility. And to do that, you are being guided to let go of your own inner hating monologue. If you've been your own biggest hater, if you've been rejecting yourself before other people get the opportunity to reject you. I also see some of you are letting go of this notion of perfection that may influence your social media in some regard. You know, some of you could be acknowledging around this lunar eclipse around, this takes too much of my time. My social media, my scrolling, consuming information is taking too much of my time. My day-to-day, this is not how I want to be spending my time. And some of you could be perhaps walking away from it or setting boundaries or setting limits in some regard. Some of you could just be letting go of this analysis paralysis, this idea of perfectionism as it relates to your sharing, feeling like I need to be perfect in order to show up. You can show up now. You can show up tomorrow, especially if you're feeling guided, because the Pisces eclipse in September will accentuate this story more. But a lot of you are really being guided towards tuning into the big picture, going towards wisdom, learning deeper about astrology, going away to school, traveling, these big picture explorations, whether you're exploring to a physical level, a mental level, a spiritual level. There's really this desire to build a life that's meaningful. And I see that with this as well as with Jupiter in your sign. There's really a desire to shut off the chatter, whether it's coming from within your mind, on social media, from other people's opinions and what is it they have to say, and you're really connecting to the big picture. And if you are somebody who has struggled with perfectionism or analysis paralysis, or feeling like I can't show up until I do so perfectly, I want to share with you what was helpful in my journey, because I completely relate with that. And to me, what helped me show up is recognizing that I felt spiritually and soulfully called to show up. So when I made it about me, when I was nitpicky around how I looked or how I talked or the ways that it could be better, you know, Virgo energy, it could always be better, right? If we're waiting for perfection, that day will never come. But to me, when I made it about me and how imperfect I was and how much there was about me to fix and improve, that was me denying the soulful call. Like if I truly felt that I was being called to do something, how silly and asinine to make it about me if I feel like it's for something so much bigger. So it's really important to place your trust within the divine this year and to follow where you're being led that other people may not understand. I see that with multiple things within your chart. You've got this eclipse in the 3rd house. You've got these Aries placements entering the 10th house. Some of you may have some controversy. Some people may not understand why you're making the decisions that you're making. Some of you are just craving depth. You're wanting to be around individuals who are having soulful, expansive conversations, philosophical conversations, astrological conversations, whatever it is. You're wanting to be in spaces and places that expand your soul space, and you're less interested in the small talk and the chatter. And sometimes us growing or evolving does trigger people because we are their reflections of what they are fearful of. And you as a Cancer, I want to let you know that the moon is a reflection of the sun. Cancers reflect. Water sign reflects. People don't always have the capacity to fully see you because they are seeing their own reflection. And you stepping out on new adventures and distancing yourself from environments that don't serve you, some people look at that and they just see what it is that they're not doing or where it is that they're still operating in fear. And so there could be kind of hater energy in that regard. But it's so important with North Node 9th house nearly all year in 2025 to really follow the stirrings of your soul, even if it's not understood. And it may take you some interesting places. It may take you to travel. It may take you to publish a book. And what's also kind of adding to this potential controversy energy is that this eclipse sextiles Mars in Cancer, which sextile is a soft flow of energy. It's not the biggest deal. But why I found it noteworthy is because Mars is in your sign. And at this point, it'll be direct. We start the year with Mars retrograde, and for a lot of you, you might start the year feeling kind of frustrated and kind of resentful. And this eclipse could just be this energy around advocating for yourself with Mars in your first house, around letting go of opinions that don't matter to you any longer, or even tapping into your sacred rage around, I have, my mother's voice in my head. I have my ex's voice in my head. Like I have these people's voice in my head that have kept me back from doing what it is that I want to do. And right now I'm showing up for myself. I'm advocating for myself. And a lot of you are getting like rightfully angry around, I can't believe people have talked to me this way. And like this eclipse could be nudging you to like release those old patterns and stand up for yourself. And when we stand up for ourselves, we also stand up for all of the younger versions of ourselves. And with Mars retrograde, a lot of you were nudged to be your own mama bear, to be your own fiercest advocate. And that could be highlighted when it comes to this eclipse. And this eclipse also opposes Saturn, which is in your 9th house. It's not always easy to follow our intuition. It's not always easy to live on faith. It's easy to be a sheep. It's easy to do what other people tell you to do. It's a lot more of a risk to follow where your soul is calling you. Like I think of so many decisions that I've made in life and I'm like, how the hell did I get the courage to do that? Like I think about what it took for me to, walk away from my 9 to 5 and move here to San Diego. Like I think about these risks that I made in my life that I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. But I knew that it would because spirit was calling me there. Like it wasn't just something that I decided to do. It was something that felt right and I was being nudged. And you're really being guided to follow your soul and get out of your mind. With a lunar eclipse in Virgo, that's really what I want to highlight. Get out of your mind. And with the opposition to Saturn, there might be reasons that you should do A, B, or C. The decisions that you make might transcend logic. It may not be logical. For me, it was not logical for me to quit my 9 to 5 at that point. It was not logical for me to move to a city where I knew no one, okay? But I knew it was right because my soul was calling me there. So even though it's hard with the lunar eclipse opposite Saturn, you have to follow what is right for you and your soul will guide the way. And it's so important not to listen to the mental chatter around everything that could go wrong because your soul is calling you towards what's going to go right. And beyond even just right, divine, synchronistic, magical, so beautiful you couldn't have even designed it if you tried. Because when we try to plan in the energy of Virgo around our 5-year plan and 10-year plan, there are so many things that we do not see. And there's so many things that we cannot account for. So there is an ask to release your own critical mind also with this eclipse. The next eclipse is on March 29th. And this is an Aries solar eclipse on the North Node. So let's discuss this because like I said, in January, the nodes move into Pisces and Virgo. Yet we have this final eclipse at the end of March. That's the official passing of the baton. essentially, between these two. And the reason is just because the new moon in Aries, the solar eclipse, happens to be in proximity to the North Node in Pisces. So even though the eclipse itself is in Aries, it's aligned with the North Node in Pisces. So this is an energy around acknowledging the work that we've done this past year and a half, as well as prioritizing the work that is awaiting us and unfolding for us within this next year and honestly beyond. So let's talk about the Aries story for you. So a lot of you, this story that I've been telling you around being launched into the limelight and putting yourself out there, that's not necessarily a novel story. You've had North Node in Aries in your 10th house the last year and a half. A lot of you have really been prioritizing your career. You've been putting yourself out there. You've been starting your own thing. You've been advocating for yourself more at work. You've been even severing yourself from situations that were not aligned for you. You've been taking risks, potentially. You've been starting something. You've been initiating something. And listen, the energy's in Aries, okay? Aries is unapologetic. This is who it is that I am. It's knowing your worth and advocating for it in a public way. And this could have come up within your career, your passion project, your business, around bosses, something of that nature. And so this eclipse, it's a new start because it's a solar eclipse, an eclipse on a new moon. And it's launching us forward with the energy of North Node. So there could be certain career advancements occurring at this time, even certain ideas coming in for career advancements or new ideas or rebranding opportunities or something of that nature due to this eclipse's proximity to Mercury. But there's really just this energy around allowing yourself to be seen and knowing that to be seen is to be judged and is to be criticized. So maybe that lunar eclipse that we had March 13th was also around you letting go of hater comments that you might receive on social media. Like, Aries energy welcomes the controversy, not for the purpose of being intentionally controversial, but just for the purpose around to be authentic is to not be everybody's cup of tea. And you don't want to water down your essence so much so that you lose and dilute the magic and the potency of who it is that you are. You are not for everybody. The more you try to be for everyone, the more you'll be for no one. So some of you are really being encouraged to niche or to assert or to advocate for who it is that you are and let go of what other people may have to say about it. And that journey is going to feel easier the more that you take on that journey with soul. And I say this because at the time of this eclipse, the North Node will be in Pisces and Neptune will be in Pisces. Now Neptune enters Aries shortly, but at the time of this eclipse itself, it's still in Pisces. And these are both from a whole sign perspective in your 9th house, which is the house of soul and spirituality and travel and adventure, all these things we've been talking about. So some of you could be potentially working with international countries in some regard in your career or in your public persona. Some of you could be getting certain education that's going to help your career. Some of you could be writing a book or teaching more as part of your career. Or some of you could just be feeling inspired as it relates to new business shifts that you're making because you're not just making them by yourself. It might feel like you're on your own, but the energy of Aries typically makes us step up as a leader and all of that. But you're going there with source energy, with God, with the divine, hand in hand walking with you as you step into and assert and initiate this new chapter. So that eclipse at the end of March completely concludes the North Node, Aries, South Node in Libra story. Now, the 10th house of your chart is still absolutely active, so the focus does not let up from career, but at least the eclipse focus now shifts away from that. So we have 2 eclipses in September that I want to put on your horizon as well. So on September 7th, we have a Pisces lunar eclipse. So this is a full moon, so revelations, epiphanies, big emotions, and it's on the North Node. Epiphanies and revelations that lead to gain. Again, that eclipse in March, epiphanies and revelations that lead to letting something go. Other people's judgments, criticism, our social media usage, our inner script, logic, the plan, whatever it is, it was a letting go. This is an illumination that drives us forward towards claiming and moving towards what it is that we are meant for and made for, really, with the energy of Pisces, what divine made us for. And so there could be certain ahas that surface at this time. Your dreams could be talking to you with this eclipse opposing Mercury. Inspired ideas. You could be downloading. You could be channeling something. You could go on some sort of trip that really expands you. You could be planning some sort of retreat of some sort, or you could be going on a retreat yourself. And with this eclipse trining Jupiter, it feels that a lot of you are awakening something from within you. A soul calling. It could be new intuitive abilities. It could be a new lease on life, a new perspective on the something more. A lot of you are really stepping into a chapter in which you feel you are making full use of the talents and abilities that God, the divine universe, has given you. And again, this eclipse also echoes that familiar story. It opposes Mercury in Virgo at the time in your 3rd house. So again, there's things that are transpiring that will not make sense to your rational mind. There are things that are happening this year that you are not going to predict. And not even in a Uranus, unexpected, random sort of way, but just in a very synchronistic way. Like there are soul clients coming into your world. There are new experiences coming into your world that are divinely orchestrated. And so if you are getting held up with this Jupiter energy and what do I want to grow? What do I want to expand towards? There's just this energy around your work is freeing yourself from what does not serve, and you already feel that because it feels heavy, it feels limiting. The universe is aligning what does serve. So there's almost this energy around just opening up, following the breadcrumbs of where your guides are sending you to or where your intuition is guiding you towards, and just welcoming these blessings. And the final eclipse of the year lands on September 21st. This is a Virgo solar eclipse. So a solar eclipse is on the new moon, which signals a new beginning, yet it's a solar eclipse on the south node, which indicates a release. So again, it's a new beginning because of the release. So it's echoing that very point that I was just expressing. We have to let go of what does not serve to carve room of what does. And some of you could have had a certain plan in mind around, I want to accomplish this at this time. I want to do this. I want to have children at this time. I want to get married. Like, again, I don't see those houses active here. It's just like our plans of how we thought our life was going to go. And there's just an energy to just open up to what it is and to seek to find peace with it, to release the battle around this is not going according to plan. I would have never thought my life would have played out this way. I never thought I'd be divorced at this age. I never thought that I would be running my own business. I never thought this. I never planned for this. Because sometimes when we stay stuck in an outdated plan, we're getting in the way of the divine plan that's opening up for us around, there's a reason why things played out in the way that they did. And haven't you found that within your world around, we might have had so many ideas around how we thought that things were going to go, and that's just not how the cookie crumbled. And sometimes we just hold on to so much needless suffering around comparing our reality to how we thought it was going to be and feeling less than because of it. Even feeling abandoned by spirit because things did not play out in the ways that you thought that they would. There's an energy this year around really stepping into your most authentic timeline. And rather than chasing these experiences, there's something coming through around just unfolding, like the soul beauty of what's within and like who it is that you came here to be. And trusting in that. I just see with this eclipse, you could be letting go of certain disappointments of where your journey did not go according to plan. Because I can tell you one thing, it might not have gone according to your plan, but it's always going in accordance to the divine's plan. So this is a year to really, truly, and deeply trust in that. And feel how much mental space that opens up for you. Because sometimes we break our own heart via our own ideas around how things should be. And I see that with the opposition to Neptune and the opposition to Saturn. This energy around, I thought my career would be in a better space in this. I thought my life would look different. And we just add on all this suffering by all of these visions of the idealized version of life, where life is never really gonna look like that, right? With the energy of Neptune, it's rose-colored glasses type energy. And with the energy of opposition to Saturn, sometimes that is a bitter pill to swallow, that things have not unfolded how we thought that they would. And it feels very mental, this particular eclipse. It's like our mind is not wired to make sure that we're happy and in alignment and living our most true reality. It's there to look for problems. So sometimes if, we're bored or what have you, our mind just wants something to ruminate about or something to hone in on around, oh, what can I think about? What's a problem for me to solve? Let me think about how this didn't work out for me. Or let me think about how I'm on this particular timeline. I only have this much time left. Like a lot of times there's mental loops that are honestly conducive for our suffering. And so the encouragement this year is to truly observe be a neutral observer of your mental stories and witness which are not conducive for your well-being, which puts you in more of a mental space of fear or lack or nitpicking or perfectionism. And prioritize the activities that put you in your soul space, that help you tap into your intuition, that help you grab a hold of our mind, always wanting to harp on what's wrong or what could be made better. There's an ask this year and beyond to really quiet the noise of the mind in order to let the soul speak. Here are some other themes for you to look out for. So I want to let you know that when we start the year, Saturn is in Pisces, and it will stay in Pisces until May 24th. It will enter Aries briefly before it retrogrades back into Pisces September 1st, where it stays throughout the rest of the year. Here's what that means for you. Wherever Saturn's transiting is where we're putting in the work, and you are putting in the work as it relates to your spiritual connection. That's the thing. We can be naturally intuitive, we all are, but it's a muscle to work. And again, it's not easy to follow our intuition always. Like, we might get the guidance, but it's not always easy to follow it. We might have certain spiritual gifts, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be able to integrate them. We can have a special talent as it relates to astrology or any other practice, but that's not to say that we could just do it without years of deep study. And some of you have been in that time of deep study. You've been learning to master your spiritual gifts. You've been really building a relationship with God or with whatever you consider your own creator. Ninth house is around religion. You could have been really exercising discernment around which voices and which strategies, modalities, and tools you were weaving into your own worldview. You've been putting in a lot of work there. And you've been really doing your due diligence, studying every day for some, if you've been in school or learning a spiritual modality or maybe even going to church, like making something a priority is the energy of Saturn. Even just like making meditation a priority, making clearing your energy a priority. Like, some of you have been asked to put in the work around these spiritual modalities. Some of you could have been putting in some work around travel plans or something of that nature. And I want to let you know, Cancer, that energy can be the most potent, accentuated within your world if you do have Cancer placements between 14 to 29 degrees Cancer. That means you will experience a Saturn trine this year. Now, while that journey is continuing, so if you have not been prioritizing this, this is my loving nudge from the cosmos with me as the conduit to start prioritizing those matters. You may find that it helps, particularly as it relates to boundaries, separating other people's energy from yours, really building a very solid worldview that helps sustain your faith, that helps you tune in and plug into your intuition. In the summertime here in the Northern Hemisphere, but May 24th to September 1st, regardless of what season that is for you, Saturn will enter Aries. And for you, this is your 10th house of career, public persona, reputation. So you've already been thrust into the limelight. You've had eclipses here. So a lot of you have been making lots of shifts as it relates to career, as it relates to your business. You could have even had some scandals as it relates to your reputation, things of that nature. But what I want to tell you is that a nodal story is much different than a Saturn story and much different than a Neptune story. And you're having elements of all of them this year. But I want to let you know that midway through this year, you could feel more tested and more pressured as it relates to work. You might level up as some sort of boss, CEO, entrepreneur. Just with the Aries energy, it's around initiating, leading, managing. And that could bring a lot more pressures on you. Time constraints, pressures, ways that you haven't been tested prior. Maybe you've been wanting to level up within career, but you're experiencing a lot of delays when it comes to getting that leadership position that you want. Regardless of however it is that you're feeling pressured or experiencing delays, I want to let you know that Saturn delays, it does not deny. And so you will get what it is that you work towards, but you may experience a lot of difficulties, delays, challenges, and hurdles as you do. And Saturn is a little bit like a pressure cooker in that it puts us under pressure, and not everybody is meant to be under that sort of pressure. Some of you may feel so pressured, you may have so many challenges and hurdles that you do switch industries. A lot of times Saturn energy crystallizes what we're meant to do and separates us from what we are not meant to do. And you may get the beginning portions of that story midway through this year. Now that will be particularly highlighted if you have Cancer placements within your chart at 0 or 1 degrees. That means you're having a Saturn square this year, and these themes of restriction, challenge, delay will be even more highlighted for you. Now, Saturn is not alone in influencing these two houses of your chart. Neptune also has its own story. So the Neptune story is that Neptune starts the year in Pisces, which is your 9th house. So very mystical and magical, which is very much in alignment to Neptune, as Neptune can be very woo-woo. And again, with Neptune and Saturn co-present in this territory of the chart, you are being guided to be open to belief systems, religious practices, spiritual practices that do help you feel connected to something more. But with Saturn here, you're also being guided to have discernment around what gurus you are learning from, or what priests you're learning from, or what doctrines you're learning from. Like, you are being guided to, yes, build a worldview that feels good to your soul, but with the energy of Saturn, be discerning, diligent, and intentional around what you're studying, who you're listening to, what have you. Now, March 30th until October 22nd, Neptune dips into Aries. Now, it'll go back into Pisces October 22nd, where it stays until the end of the year, but it does have this brief foreshadow into Aries, and thus your 10th house. And where Saturn is around limits and boundaries, Neptune is around dissolving said boundaries. So a lot of you, if you are leveling up in some regard professionally this year, you're starting a business, you're becoming a CEO, you are becoming a boss, you're a manager, you're a leader, you're having more personal responsibility over something. Like, Saturn energy is that, right? That higher level of authority. And Neptune entering this territory also could indicate that you are lacking boundaries around it. You could lose sight of where you start and work begins. Like, you could be overextending your even compassion as it relates to bosses or things of that nature. Or you could be having a hard time separating yourself from your reputation, feeling like what people say about you reflects what it is that you are and who it is that you are. Again, Moon is reflection. Neptune is also the planet of camera screens and mirrors, things that are reflective. So there will be a need to separate this year what is yours and what is not yours. Because I will say, with how a lot of the cosmos are lining up, there could be people who are potentially projecting things onto you. Again, you could get some like hate comments on your social media of you just posting a picture of you eating ice cream, of people being like, you know how bad ice cream is for you? Like, again, people's anger, I'm feeling that with the Aries energy. People could be projecting onto you or lashing out at you in a professional way or in a public way with the 10th house energy from a space of anger. With Neptune energy, return to sender, okay? Mind your boundaries. When it relates to work, it's hard. If you are doing your own thing in some regard, it does kind of become who it is that you are. You know, Aries is around identity, but Neptune energy asks you to not lose yourself within that. You are a person outside of what it is that you do for work or your passion project, your reputation, what have you. And that also may be part of those Jupiter squares that I was telling you about in June, because Jupiter squares Saturn, who's here, and Jupiter square Neptune here, where it's like you're wanting to grow in these new dimensions, but you also feel like you have this legacy or this reputation to uphold publicly. You could feel this like push-pull between who it is that you are and how you've built yourself to be. And it's not even in a disingenuous way. I just feel like there's an energy around not wanting to let people down. So potentially keeping yourself from new dimensions of your growth or new ways you're wanting to expand or express yourself because you are fearful around what other people will say or how they'll perceive you, or how you are taking yourself down off a pedestal that some of your customers or clients or the public eye can see you. And to live in this world means to disappoint people. If you don't disappoint anyone, you'll just disappoint yourself. So it's important to separate yourself from how other people expect you to be. And if you have 0 degrees, 1 degree, or 2 degrees Cancer, you will have a Neptune transit this year. And with Neptune transits, yes, you could be feeling more spiritual, more connected to the ethers, But you also could be feeling very confused. Neptune fogs and confuses. So you could be feeling more drained, more tired, more like, what's the point? You could start to feel confused on your pathway forward. You could be really craving escapism. You know, Cancer can really be where it is that we want to soothe ourselves, and you could be seeking to soothe yourself via impulsive Aries energy behaviors that allow you to numb or escape from your reality. Neptune, things such as substances, shopping, food, whatever it is, that could be particularly potent if you are having a Neptune transit. So remaining grounded is going to be important if you're navigating that. Now, Chiron, throughout the entirety of the year, is in your 10th house. So while a lot of you are being launched into the limelight, into higher levels of responsibility, you're initiating something, you're starting something, some of you could be doing that in a healing modality. You could be stepping into leadership in order to heal other people. You could be stepping into leadership in an effort to heal yourself, or around a modality that you learned that was pivotal within your own healing journey. But some of you could experience triggers, like bosses could trigger you this year. This has been an ongoing story, so it's not unique to 2025. But I will say the Chiron energy may be particularly potent October 23rd and December 9th, because those are the dates that Jupiter in your first house will square Chiron in the 10th house. So it also could bring about this tension around how I'm expected to be, how I really am, the new dimensions of myself that I'm excited to unfold, and the pedestals that other people could have placed me on due to my career, my reputation, or what have you. And with the Chiron energy, there could be like a wounding around not wanting to disappoint people, not wanting to let people down. Because again, we can say all day long, if I don't disappoint my customers, sometimes I'm going to disappoint myself. But a lot of times it comes from a very deeper part of ourselves around being very hungry for validation and approval. Maybe that's a story that's been with us from our caretakers, right? From our upbringing, from our childhood. So it's bigger than just being like, well, I don't care, I'm going to do my own thing. It's like there is a part of us that feels triggered when people abandon us, when they leave us, when customers decide, you know, it's time for us to part ways, or our creation goes in a direction that's not a match for everyone that it used to be a match for. Our abandonment wounds could be triggered around, wait, you're leaving? Wait, should I just reflect and be what you want me to be? But these triggers come to the surface for us to really nurture those parts of ourselves, to really tell the inner child version of ourselves, like, it's safe, it's safe, it's okay. People will flow in and flow out of our reality, and that's okay. You cannot live out of integrity with yourself, seeking to be everything for everyone so that they do not leave you. Again, that could be an unhealed trigger part of ourselves that's reacting in those instances. So Cancer, those 9th and 10th houses, those life arenas are busy, busy, busy for you. Let's dial into some other houses that are being activated this year. So Uranus is the planet of innovation, of shaking things up. And I want to let you know that Uranus is having its own little dance into 2 houses as well. So Uranus starts the year in Taurus, which is your 11th house. A lot of you, for the past 8 years or so, have been dealing with some weird happenings around friendships, around people within your community. There could have been people you got close with and the friendships randomly ended, or random new people entered your life. Like Uranus energy could be sudden happenings. And you could have found that the last 8 years or so has been a little bizarre when it comes to your friendships. People randomly coming in, people randomly departing. Bizarre happenings even happening within your friendships, as well as changes as it relates to your hopes and dreams, what it is that you envisioned for yourself. There could have been certain changes as it relates to your community if you are online in some regard. From July 7th until November 7th, Uranus will enter Gemini. And this enlivens your 12th house, which is what's beneath the surface. It is what is private. It is what is sacred. Again, Jupiter was here in the first portion of the year. And with Uranus here, your dream space could get very unusual, very eccentric, very random. You could randomly crave periods of solitude. There can be times that you question if you're going a little bit crazy. I just gotta say it. Sometimes with Uranus in the 12th house and you're just having a very spiritual year altogether. I think anyone who's walked a spiritual path sometimes asks themselves, am I cuckoo? Because it just feels a little much sometimes, right? So always important to ground yourself and things of that nature, but that could kind of enliven with Uranus in the 12th house sometimes. Like, especially with it in Gemini, you could just receive messages in unusual ways. Like messages could come through via music or via numbers or just via bizarre happenings. And you're like, am I crazy for reading into this, that this happened? And again, no, the universe communicates with us in so many different ways. It's just important to ground down in order to really integrate the messages that come through. Now, the final planet for us to discuss is that Pluto is at Aquarius throughout the entirety of the year. It does not shift signs this year, but Pluto is in such early territory of its journey where it'll be for 2044 that I still consider it a newer transit. But throughout the entirety of the year, Pluto will be transiting your 8th house, which can ultimately relate to a story around evolving shared assets in some way, evolving debt in some way, power struggles around shared assets, alimony, child support. And if we want to take a very metaphysical look at it, it could also just be this evolution, this transformation. I really see this story playing out this year, Cancer, around separating what is yours and what is not yours. Because 8th house is shared energy, merged energy. And Pluto is around the psyche. So I'm just seeing in multiple places within your year how much of a focus there is around stories that you're holding on to that were never yours to hold on to. Stories that you have running due to your caretaker's issues or due to your ex's problems that they projected onto you or other people's problems. I'm just seeing that you have held on to a lot, and this is the year you're recognizing it's not all yours to carry. And that's where that freedom, that lightness, that expansiveness of that Jupiter transit is coming from, is that when you return energy to sender, when you release these things that you're holding on to, whether it's an energetic level, a physical level, an emotional level, whatever it is, you have more space. And I would even say to like a daily maintenance level, check in every so often. If you get hit with a random wave of emotion, which listen, you're ruled by the moon. I know that happens pretty frequently. But next time you get hit with a random wave of emotion or even a thought pattern that doesn't feel like your own, ask yourself, is this mine? A lot of times you'll get an answer and you can return it to sender. I'll just say, my energy is my energy, your energy is your energy. Separate, not everything is yours to carry. We adore how empathetic and compassionate and caring you are as a sign, Cancer. But I feel like this is a year around you acknowledging that you are carrying the weight of other people's projections, disappointments, fears, triggers that is not yours to carry. Return to sender so you can glow up, make your dreams come true, step into your most aligned timeline with Jupiter entering your sign. So in supporting you and stepping into this aligned timeline, I would love to share some affirmations that I crafted for you based on your transits. I have put these into a PDF, which you can access within the link below. You can either save it to your computer or print it to have it handy in order to really align yourself with these celestial energies. So the affirmations are as follows. I am open to growth. I step into the greatness that I am. I propel myself forward. It is safe for me to release the past. It is what it is, and I look forward to see what it will be. I am led by faith. I trust my intuition. It is safe for me to put myself out there for new adventures. I use my intuition as a compass towards what is right for me and what is not right for me. I am a confident, empowered leader. I advocate for myself and what it is that I believe in. I let go of any programming, fears, and stories that are not in alignment with my highest and best good. I dream new dreams, and I know I am capable of accomplishing said dreams. New challenges present me new opportunities to grow. I return energy that is not mine to carry back to sender. I nurture myself. I make self-love a daily priority. I am a beautiful, abundant, generous, compassionate person, and I hold myself accordingly. It is safe for me to say no to what is not for me so that I can open up space for what is. I am aligned by the divine and I trust in its plan. My loves, it looks like a truly beautiful year aligning for you within the astrology. Let me know, what are you looking forward to within this upcoming year's astrology? What kind of scares you a little bit? I would love to know. Earlier Cancer placements, you will be hit by some Saturn, Neptune energy, which is not always easy, but I do feel confident to tell you that it will be a year of growth, and good fortune with Jupiter entering your sign, the sign of its exaltation. So there's a lot to be excited about. So I'd love to hear what that is. You can comment below, or my Instagram handle is @HaleyCommentAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would so love to connect with you over there. If this is your first time to my cosmic corner of the internet and you resonate with my style, I would so deeply appreciate if you could subscribe. Check out my all signs forecast, check out my weekly horoscope Magic Monday. But until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.